Cent Podcast.
Hey everyone, just want to give a big shout out to our December sponsor, F1 Delta Time. F1 Delta Time is an officially licensed Formula One blockchain-based game that utilizes the Ethereum blockchain to bring you a full Formula One racing experience, coupled with a revolution in gaming in the form of true digital ownership and a play-to-earn model. F1 Delta Time is all about collecting scarce digital items to fill your garage and leveraging these items to go head-to-head in multiplayer racing. Visit f1deltatime.com to join in various events running throughout December. That's F1deltatime.com. Hey everyone, this is Matthew. Welcome back to The Spotlight, the weekly interview series with the Cent creator. This week, though, we're doing things a little bit differently. We had the whole Cent team on, so myself, Cameron, Andrew, and Katie, and we were talking about the brand new experiment that we put together called Valuables that lets folks mint tweets into NFTs. That's right. With Valuables, you can find a tweet that you like, put an offer in, and if the original author buys it, it is minted into an NFT. Mind-blowing stuff, right? So we talk about the whole origin story of Valuables, why the Cent team is running this whole separate experiment. Literally, like, what are folks buying if they buy a tweet? There's some thorny ownership questions that we talk about. We touch on what if Twitter shuts us down, some of the short-term plans, updates we have for Valuables. And we get into some really deep topics and conversations on what it means to be a creator today and what we hope a project like Valuables can add to the experience of being a creator and their fans. So I hope everyone has checked out Valuables by going to v.cent.co. It's probably going to bring up more questions than we answer just because it's so brand new and no one has really done anything like this, minting tweets. So if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at NiftyTime or on Cent at Matthew. But with that, I'm really excited to share the conversation that the Cent team had about Valuables. So please enjoy. Okay, Cameron, Andrew, Katie, welcome to a very special episode of the Spotlight Podcast.
Thanks, Matthew.
Good to be here, bro.
There we go. For everyone listening, this, including myself, is the full Cent team. We have a really, really fun new release that we want to get in and start talking about today called Valuables that you may have seen. But before we start talking about Valuables, I think the team should kind of give a quick intro to everyone, tell them a little bit about who they are, what they do at Cent. So Cam, you want to get started?
Yeah, definitely. So, hey guys, my name's Cameron, co-founder of Cent, and I've just been super fascinated with the creative monetization space. It's really, from when I started working on it in 2015, it's really like transformed into like a whole creative economy. There's so much exciting projects going on, and we're really grateful just to be one of them and to be working for the creator.
Hey, my name's Andrew. Been working with Cent for about a year and a half now. Working on a bunch of different stuff with us, product, company, strategy, creative direction, content, just trying to take part in the team. And I am excited about this newest release because it is our first step into creative ownership and kind of like fully realizing that vision of like taking back content that you create and turning it into something that is valuable to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Dreminder, and while I am new to the blockchain, crypto art world, I'm long in the tooth, as they say, in the technology space. I've been at e-commerce companies and social networking companies and cybersecurity companies and blah, blah, blah. And what I am incredibly passionate about, especially, and I've also, by the way, been an advisor at Cent for the last, I think, about a year and a half, and have now switched over to being I guess, a co-founder and full-timer. And the reason why is the mission and the team. The mission being that I really, especially through this pandemic, seen the rise of creators and the need for not only a creative economy, but a creative income. And I'm a huge music fan and art fan, collector, and watching artists in all different sorts of practices struggle to work on their craft, especially during this time. I can see the potential and the impact that this platform can have, and that's what really gets me going. But the real benefit to me is working with a team of people that I really respect and value, and I think the same is true from them to me.
Hell yeah.
Woot.
Cool. And then just in case anyone doesn't know me, this is Matthew, head community at Cent. Make really cool podcasts, speaking with awesome creators, write about creator crypto. And if you really didn't know who I am, very sad about that fact.
Yeah, shame on you.
How did you find the podcast?
Yeah, but I mean, who wants to take a stab and get into explaining what the hell Valuables is to folks and what we're doing with this cool little experiment of ours?
Yeah, I'll give it a pass, and then you all feel free to chime in whenever. So what we've witnessed operating Cent is this tremendous boom in rare digital art, works that people are creating, getting sold for literally thousands of dollars, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, what the fuck? And a lot of that happened very close to us as operators of the Cent platform, where a lot of these crypto artists came together, connected, some cases collaborated, and grew on Cent and beyond. And in that period, we were witnessing the underlying technology, these non-fungible tokens, really take shape in a way that they hadn't since they were introduced in the CryptoKitty movement. And for us, that was a learning experience in terms of the opportunity to incorporate that type of technology into a social experience. But at the same time, we wanted to do that quickly, and we wanted to do that with scale. And so instead of turning in to the Cent network, we actually turned out to all of the other networks out there and decided to start with Twitter and let anyone mint any tweet and then sell that to anyone who wants to buy it. And so that is the product that is Valuables today. It's the idea that you can take any tweet that you've created and instantly start selling it to whoever you want. We've actually done it in reverse. So people put up offers first, and then you can choose to accept the offer. And then that's when the transaction happens. But the basic idea is this incredibly valuable technology has emerged, and we need to bring this to the masses in a way that gives them a slice of that value. Because the truth is, like, what NFTs have proven out is such a small fraction of content creation relative to what's happening out there, right? All these Instagram feeds, all these Twitter feeds, all these TikToks. There is so much value being generated, but not captured by the creators. And NFTs are the key. And so we're really excited to be deploying this product.
Can I jump on that, Cam? That you made a point that is what is so fascinating to me, I think, as an outsider to this niche, but also having helped build some large platforms that in the e-commerce and social space, some of which I'm proud of, some of which I'm not so proud of. But I think that what is fascinating to me, I mean, outside of my passion for creators and artists and art in general, is the idea that these, especially from a social perspective, that brands or individuals have garnered clout, fame and money off the backs of the actions that the average user takes. And I sort of I'm an empath and always want to sort of understand a product or a technology from the average user perspective. But in this case, it's like there's something missing, and there's an audience of people that are getting cheated out of their creation. And we always I would think about creations as, oh, this physical piece of art, but commentary, sardonic wit, memes, all of these things are actually content and expressions of creativity that aren't being treated as a valuable thing, as a piece of art.
Totally agree.
And that's what I think is so intriguing, even as a noob. For me, that's really intriguing, because I think that it's not a fair thing that these quote unquote influencers gain power when they're doing it off the backs of the people that follow them.
Well, so I think a lot of really interesting things have been said about what Valuables is. For someone that's hearing about Valuables for the first time, it may be a little bit overwhelming. So before we get too deep, I'm wondering if we can kind of circle back and do real quick one-liner, what is Valuables, just so people kind of fully get it.
Okay, for Valuables, I'll put it in my words. You can buy somebody's tweets and basically claim ownership of them. The easy analogy is the baseball card. So you are getting an autograph of a tweet that you really appreciate, or a tweet that you really like from a creator that is verified. And that creator says, okay, you can have this card, you can have this tweet. My signature's on this, and now it's yours to do with whatever you want.
So how is it actually different though? I love the autograph card analogy. I feel like, okay, I want to buy a tweet, someone signs the tweet and gives it to me. Obviously, in real life, you're walking away with a physical baseball card or basketball card or whatever trading card that you got the signature on. But if you buy a tweet, what do people actually get?
So because we're talking about digital content, a digitally native artifact, it operates a little bit different than the physical world. So particular to Valuables, for one, we only allow the creator to mint and sell one copy. So there will only ever be, for each tweet, one signed version on Valuables. In crypto speak, this is a one of one. And so that means that each one has an opportunity to be coveted by many people. We've seen some offers come in, for instance, for some of Elon Musk's tweets, because they are notoriously cheeky and sort of prodding at the SEC and the California Senate. And so there's really an opportunity here to ultimately establish connection, right? Through ownership of these digital assets, you are being connected with the creator, because you're saying, I value this so much that I'm going to place a higher offer than anyone else and make a purchase for your autograph, literally for your autograph on this piece of content. And so right now, the places that you can showcase that are small, but burgeoning. The metaverse is the first place that comes to mind. VR in general, digital networks in general. It's going to be a digitally native experience for when it comes to showcasing this and talking about it with your friends. But a lot of companies are doing really cool things in terms of what's possible. I mean, CryptoVoxels comes to top of mind.
So can I pretend to be a total ding dong about this? If I buy Kanye West's tweet, and it's this, he tweeted something that's just so ridiculous, and I own it now, Kanye can still go make t-shirts with that saying on it.
Kanye is the copyright holder.
Can I then go do 1,000 cross stitches, physical cross stitches of that quote or that tweet, and sell it?
The topic of the commercial license does come up, and right now these are non-commercial licenses. So you do have the ability to resell the tweet, but in terms of the creative ownership of the work itself, Kanye is the copyright holder. Kanye chooses how that media gets used. What you get is the metadata of that tweet signed.
You get the baseball card.
Yes.
That's really helpful for me because I'm a visual and experiential learner. So I think I needed to just articulate that question and have you answer it for me.
But I mean, that is interesting. Like, we obviously are only one company and one team pushing for this one product at the moment. But that question is obviously like, that's the current answer. But the whole development of NFTs and this idea of, digital rights management, creative ownership of your creative property, it's going to get blown up. Like, we're going to have to figure out new answers to questions like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually what really does excite me. I mean, like if I think about this as a story arc, that longer term thing is what actually does get me super jazzed on behalf of jazzed. I sound very old by saying that, but like jazz hands. But that gets me excited for creators because if I think about, this, I have this friend who is a really promising young artist and was able to get into a really great art school. And the way that artists come out of art school is some gallery dude comes along and buys up the whole thing and chooses what artists are worthy. And art's so subjective. My taste is different than all of your taste. And I don't necessarily want that one curator to control, the introduction of new artists. But those creators who don't make it into galleries don't have the distribution channels or the way to expose a wider audience of people to their art. And if NFTs are something that can be translated to not only digital art, but physical art, that's a game changer.
I mean, it's not only like going to change the game, it's totally necessary. Brad Trammell puts it right. He says the whole pyramid that is fine art is crumbling. Obviously, at the top, there's these blue chip galleries and then the mid-tier galleries, and then under them, art schools, right? And look at what's happening to like all of the enrollment in schools because of COVID. Like the system is literally collapsing.
Also, I'm in California. We've just been locked down in a hardcore way. Galleries are shut down again. Like, what are creators? I mean, the thing that blows my mind is in this pandemic, so many people have actually come out of the woodwork and demonstrated their creative skills, whether it's creating a mask or like because we needed masks, or they just found themselves feeling creative because they've always wanted to and they didn't feel they had the time. And what is brilliant and amazing, sarcastic, acerbic art to me that I would put on my wall is not something that maybe a gallery would choose to represent. But who fucking cares? They still deserve a platform and a way of, authenticating their art and selling it.
I think that point definitely comes through so strongly. We're all creators here. And what we're doing with Valuables is like amplifying that message to like 11 on the loudspeaker, because anyone's tweet is a potential work. Like anyone who is an active user of these networks is, by our characterization, a creator or an artist, and you can buy their work and literally put it on your wall, digitally speaking.
Legit, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I just came back from traveling and I started every night taking pictures, and I would just tag night photography. And all of a sudden, like legit photographers were, I mean, like 3. I mean, not like 100, but a few started following me. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? I'm not an artist. I'm not a creator. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. People actually appreciate this. And then I've had experiences where I've posted something on Instagram and it gets like scarfed up and somebody uses it in an article or whatever. And how like amazing that this could be a way of helping artists with like authentication and rights management.
The art conversation is really interesting because I think it really clarifies the power of NFTs for artists and how instead of having this really limited distribution channel of like elite galleries and curators essentially being the gatekeepers for who eats and who doesn't, who's an artist and who is someone that maybe merely creates and doesn't really matter. Now everyone has this tool, which people call NFTs, to kind of sell and distribute and mint their art for the masses and earn a living potentially.
I mean, that's honestly what has blown me away about working with you guys, and what I've learned is just the power of it. Like the democratization, which is a dirty word to say, but like the democratization of that world. Because if somebody actually likes my weird night photography and they want to hang it on their wall, well, I'd love for them to do that. It's almost not, I mean, it's not about the compensation, but it's the accreditation. It makes the shit that I do with my phone at night legitimate. And that feels really good.
Yeah. And then even taking the conversation outside of just focusing on art and the power of NFTs and what that means for art with valuables, like we're taking something that people probably wouldn't necessarily think of as being valuable, which is like regular tweets in a stream that I don't know how many billions or trillions, and all the tweets combined make Twitter and have made it billions and billions of dollars, right? What valuables in our kind of implementation of NFTs is doing is actually trying to take some of that value and bring it back to the tweet creators, the ones who've been creating this value to begin with, and helping them capture some of that just from the mere fact that you can now buy and sell tweets, and the author can stamp their signature on these tweets just like they would on a baseball card if they were signing it, and have the collector kind of carry all of that away with them. I feel like that's so powerful. And we're talking about tweets today, but this is an application that is really potentially disruptive for like the rest of the social networks out there that have been kind of capitalizing on the creation of their user base.
Matthew just said a Silicon Valley word, disruption.
You know, I just saw like a statistic lately that is like kind of related to what we're talking about. And it was if you took all the money in the world and redistributed it evenly, every family would have $700,000 a year, every year. And what that says to me is that Twitter, if we see Twitter as the billionaire business that builds, you know, off of all of these people on the bottom that are making the content for the business, if we just took all that money that is funneling up through their attention economy and brought it back down to the workers, quote unquote, that are making all of the content, everyone could eat, everyone could live, everyone could just tweet and live, basically.
What I think is really interesting about that, especially having been an Amazon employee for 6 years, way back when, and then seeing the astronomical wealth that Bezos has, right? What I actually love about this and Scent and the mission is it's not necessarily about taking away from the big corporations. I mean, somebody should take away from the big corporations, but this isn't about that. It's actually about creating a new economy, a new way that, like, for people to make money that is in concert with some of the behemoths.
You think Twitter's going to get mad at us?
I mean, I hope so. That'd be like the best outcome ever, because that validates like our hypothesis.
I think there's a difference between mad and jealous, right?
That's a great point, Cam.
Yeah, I think there's a strong likelihood that they'll be jealous. But okay, so just a couple context points. One, Jack has made a very strong commitment to eventually moving Twitter into like a decentralized open protocol. He gets it. He gets Bitcoin. He's a big booster. He understands decentralization. He knows what's coming. Now, when it comes to him and his company doing something like this, they're nowhere near as agile to be able to say, we're going to start letting people sell their own content directly. They have this whole ads business set up. And even if they wanted to, they're not in the position where we are able to not only say, we're going to let you mint your tweets, we're also going to say, hey, mint your Instagram posts, mint your YouTube videos. Let's take all of these sources of content and bring them all back to you, bring them all back to your identity, and really tie them all together in that way. Twitter just can't do that. So it's really like, I really do see this as something that they would love to be able to do, but they're just not in a position to do.
Yeah, you're spot on, because that conflict of interest, where as a company they're beholden to their customers, not just their users, and it would be very difficult to orchestrate and initiate and build and launch an experiment like this, because it would have to be perfect.
They would have to cannibalize their business model.
And that's the beauty of being a nimble startup and on the bleeding edge of, well, honestly, I mean, like, this is like the next wave, the next version of the internet. There is a 3.0 coming, but we don't know what it looks like. I think the next wave, the 3.0, is also about individuals reclaiming their actions, their data, and owning up to it, right? Like, because we operate in these walled gardens and the information and data is locked away, it's almost like you don't have responsibility for it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really interesting paradigm shift.
Yeah, it's like, at what point do we become more digitally native than physically native? Because right now, with the way that the rules are set by Facebook, by Twitter, by YouTube, with the way that they deplatform people, and with regard to their rights, it's clearly not fit for anyone to call themselves digitally native to their platforms, given they can erase your identity.
But also, I think like the way that like blockchain actually provides a bizarre, like not bizarre, but a really interesting sort of bridge between that idea or concept of digitally native and what is actually you. And, we think about the real world and what we say to people on the street, right? And then what you can say when you're sitting behind a keyboard. And I think that there is a way to bridge the virtual or the digital and the physical.
The singularity.
No, I mean, maybe I have no idea if that's what I'm actually describing.
I think this is really, really interesting. And like whatever propels people, or whatever causes the digital and physical gap to shrink, or for people to kind of go from like the physical more into the digital, I think a lot of what will propel that will be the ability for folks to actually make meaningful sums of money in the digital. I mean, we're talking about pretty far off abstract concepts to a lot of people who haven't kind of made the full plunge down into crypto or living in like a purely digital environment. But with something like valuables, we're sort of trying to see if this experiment will help make people money, right? And so after the soft launch last week, like thousands of dollars have kind of been sloshing around. We've had three different sales of people kind of selling their tweets to others, but like, how do we, and how do people, how can they use valuables to actually make money, and what needs to happen for people to make money to kind of further this potential future that we're talking about?
It's a really great question. So for starters, the way that we've rolled it out, only blue checkmark people can sell their tweets. And the reason that we did it this way is to deliberately introduce friction and make it a little bit more of a high reach, not only for us, but for the community. We want to show the world that these things truly do have value. And in order to do that, we want to make it so that not only is this something that people are trying to prove out, just like crypto art proved out the viability of digitally owned art, but also it's something that's getting the attention of the people that need to be hearing it, the people that are in the position of power on these networks, because these people are our megaphones as we pioneer this experiment. I was just going to say that when we open this up to everybody, which will be soon, it's not ready just yet, but we will be opening it up to everyone. The hope is that people come on to Twitter and do what they normally do. And because there's that implicit understanding that I can reply to your tweet, I can like your tweet, but what is a super like? Like, what is that action that you can take that just says, this vibes with me so hard. I love this. I need you to know that, right? And we want that action to be buying the tweet. That's where that comes in.
I really, really love the second part of what you said there about, what is the next level of the and really establishing a commitment or a connection between the tweet reader and the tweet writer, the creator and the fan. And that is the idea of ownership, of actually owning a digital piece of content, owning the tweet.
Well, what I love about what you're saying, Andrew, is that, and what Cam alluded to earlier, is the baseball card idea is also an extension of being a fan of something, being a collector, being passionate about an artist, and how do you sort of fly your flag?
So what I was gonna start a discussion on between us right now was the rationale for the blue check mark, because I know that we have differing opinions on that.
That's great.
But as soon as I heard Cam, you explaining it now about kind of we engineered it in this way to create friction and to drive traffic, I guess, in my mind, it immediately brings up some dissonance in terms of what we're going for, which is giving the average layperson the power of creativity.
Well, it also exposes some very shit user experience in Twitter for blue checkmark people, which I find fascinating.
Well, the whole blue checkmark system itself is already sketchy in how it's set up to begin with, and so.
But why would a blue checkmark person look at their inbox?
Right, and there's that as well of just kind of trying to aim our sights at the ivory towers if they can even see us from down below.
Well, I mean, I'll come out and say I was well, why blue checkmark? Because of what it means to be a blue checkmark. It's a popularity contest, and we exist because of a niche community, but value, and value is derived from not just one person being a fan, but many being a fan.
I mean, look, just from my experience in creative work and art, and just, being very much surrounded by it at all times, I've found that the pieces of art or the pieces of creativity or whatever you want to call it that I'm attracted to most have less and less been determined by the amount of other people's validation of that, and more determined of what actually connects to me. And I've found in a simple example, music, I am loving music that is more and more not has been undiscovered. I think there's a part of my brain that, and I think what it does for me is like it triggers a part of my brain of novelty and I am like held, my attention is held here more because I know that you are quote unquote less unrefined than the pop musician has been refined by commercial society. And yet I still see what you're doing with intention, the creative act and the creative choices that you make. And I appreciate that. And that connects to me. And I am so glad to be a part of your journey this early in your process. Those are some of my thoughts surrounding like, I guess, like blue check mark verified people versus just like, bro, there's a lot of Twitter accounts that are fire that don't have the Twitter approval of the blue check mark.
Right. And like we could have gone that direction, but there is something about like capturing attention about something like this isn't about, oh, let's make all billions and gazillions of dollars off of this at this stage, right? What we're trying to do is this hypothesis valid? And the only way to really truly prove that out is for a large number of people to interact with it. But it's got its challenges. And, I think about when Facebook launched the platform and game developers were just coming onto the platform. It was about capturing eyeballs and putting things in the news feed and just simply trying to get into that stream of awareness and consciousness. And it was, I think early on it was pretty altruistic and then became not so altruistic. But like, it's important that we put this in front of eyeballs because that's where we're going to learn.
And a large part of the assumption behind the blue check mark was that when we're launching this, we wanted to kind of keep it simple, think of a way that would be easy to communicate, get the collectors to kind of understand the idea that there's some sort of value inherent to tweets from these exclusive or different accounts on Twitter, and see if we can get them to kind of open up their purse strings to shower money on folks. And starting from that simple approach, I feel like we were all kind of thinking that, all right, we can see how this works, and then we can kind of tweak it over time to expand, for example, the group of accounts that can mint their tweets to include non-checkmark people. But the opposite would be a little bit harder to accomplish. If everyone could simply mint their tweets, like there's potential issues inherent in that from the very beginning, from like a communication standpoint.
Well, also, what you're saying is also like scarcity, right? Like scarcity also is an underpinning to value. I mean, why the fuck do people buy Yeezy slides?
100%.
Because there's not enough of them.
There's scarcity, my friends.
I think that, these are all great philosophical points. There's also just a purely operational point, which I'll touch on real quickly, which is that we operate a bot on Twitter that announces whenever an offer is made. And so one strategy with employing the blue check marks as the only sellers was geared toward minimizing the chances or the odds that someone makes an offer on their own tweet, whether it is, from an alt account or whether they ask their friend, discouraging that type of behavior, because we really want to establish through our Twitter bot and our account that these offers are legitimate and they're coming in, right? And so from a purely functional operational perspective, it did provide us that sort of safeguard as well.
Always bringing me back down to earth, Cam.
It's my job.
Also, go big or go home.
So from here, where do we go? Like, what's next? What can people expect to happen, either with valuables or with any of our other experiments?
World domination? Just kidding.
By the people.
By the people is right. I mean, that's what so pumps me up about the potential for this is how many people. I mean, I can't even think about it in terms of the number of people. I have to think about it in a global perspective. There are creators all over the world. There are people that want to create and earn a legitimate income, and creations are happening, whether we take a picture with our phone or we do a tweet or whatever. There's potential there. You guys know I'm annoying. I love the story arc. I love to pontificate about that crazy idea 5 or 10 years out. That's where I operate and where I'm at my best. That's what blows me away about crypto art and about this sort of paradigm shift and about scent and about blockchain is that it's actually very empowering.
When you're talking about it on a global scale like that and giving people like an opportunity to like make an income, I mean, there's so many parts of that lights up my brain. Like, I think about this one user on Scent that I don't think has posted in a long time, but used to be one of my favorites, who was like an eggplant farmer.
Wait, seriously? A like real eggplant
Straight
farmer?
up, he was a farmer. And I think he was out in Indonesia.
You talking about Bite Long from Indonesia?
Bite Long, that's the name I was looking for.
Yes. And
yes,
like, I remember Bite Long was like such a fan favorite of Scent for a while because it was nothing like, you know, there's great graphic designers, there's great video makers, there's great musicians and, you know, classic artists. And then there's people that are just talking about their life and trying to make a living doing what they know and doing
How
it
in the actual fuck did he find Scent?
I have no idea, but he made money off of it, and I'm so glad that he did.
That is so brilliant.
Yeah.
I've not heard that story, and that makes me so happy.
And there's a million stories like that I've seen on Scent.
Damn. That's the jam right there.
So that is the ultimate feel good, right? And the goal is to replicate that for everyone. No big. I think, Matthew, concretely, 1, 2, and 3, what can people expect? For one, at a certain point, we will be opening it up to anyone to be able to sell their tweets. We're in the stages of proving it out. But once we get that, that's something that you can definitely look forward to on the horizon. Secondly, we don't think that this is something that is limited to just Twitter. We think that if this model works, we can take this and we can do it on other networks like Instagram, like YouTube, like TikTok. We're going to bring the heat to all the networks and really scale out that way. And then the third thing is, what about Scent? Like bringing it back to Scent, right? So Scent, we have this subscription product called Seeding, and very much there's an opportunity to bring NFTs into that, right? We've thought about so many different ways and we haven't committed to a way, but imagine, for instance, that all of your seeders, all of your subscribers get an NFT for the post that you make. Or maybe you're able to sell one and that post is then be able to feature it somewhere else on the site. The possibilities are really open-ended. And it's really cool to see like what all can be sort of second order effects drawn out from that. For instance, in the case where everyone gets an NFT that subscribes to you, this is a new way of looking at your distribution base, because now all of your subscribers are these on-chain token holders. And so you don't need things like an email address when you can use a cryptography backed ETH address, and you can put whatever information you want there. And then in the case of each seeder potentially being able to buy it instead of just getting it, there's the potential for licensing. So being able to take a piece of content that is created by a created by a user that you're seeding, and then go and showcase it somewhere else on the site, whether that's in your gallery or your friend's gallery. You can take that and move that around. So we are going to bring it back to scent. I probably just confused everyone listening.
No, actually, Cam, you know what I love about what you just said, and thank you for bringing it back to scent, because yeah, that's what we're doing. In a way, what is brilliant about scent and this idea of creators and fans of creators or collectors or curators or whatever you want to call them is that it actually brings those two worlds together in a way that's really powerful and, for me, very inspiring. I don't feel a connection necessarily just based on participating or following on a social platform, but there's a way that we can actually link the two and make it a richer experience for people.
I mean, Matthew, this is your territory now. Tell us about the collector, right? What's going on? What's going to happen?
So I think it's really interesting. I mean, before we launched, I was talking to a couple artists, right? And we know that crypto art is something that's like been taking off, especially in 2020, right? $18 million in sales to date for this digital art backed by NFTs. It's really interesting. And a lot of these artists, before they have a release or a drop, they're talking about their work on Twitter, or they're making posts describing the process of a particular work on Scent. What something like Valuables potentially unlocks for the collector is their ability to collect the full story behind a piece, right? So it's not just the final piece that gets dropped on a super rare or Nifty Gateway, but it's the series of tweets that led to the creation of that work. It's the post on Scent describing the insane process that goes into it. And for the first time, it's not just that a collector can understand the story behind a work, it's that they can actually collect that story. And I think that it's a really early idea. And I think it's probably something that may get lost on a lot of people. But when it does click for the artist or collector, then it's really powerful. And that's something that, like, how do you value the price of that story? It's a really interesting exercise, and it'll be interesting to see if that idea clicks with folks.
Damn.
Fucking goosebumps.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I don't know what it's like to be an artist, but I imagine in some ways it's a bit lonely. Like, you have fans, but like there's not, like, it doesn't always feel authentic, or it just feels kind of strange. And the idea that relationship between artist and fan, or whatever you want to call it, like, that changes the game. That's not only giving something to the fan that's better than what they have today, but it's better for the artist.
This whole thing with NFTs and like being able to own a file, a piece of digital content, being able to own, like, collect a piece of the journey, collect the pre-art conception, the tweets, the sketches, the process, is really like taking ownership in the relationship, taking ownership in the creative process, being a part of something. And I think that's exactly what we're all kind of circling on, is this idea of, you know, fan and creator lines are being blurred. There is a collaboration in the creative process now. There is a group community. There is a group push that helps, you know, create better work, that helps create more work, that gives everyone a chance at money and a chance at connecting with each other, especially when, you know, like you said, art is a very lonely territory, because by design, an artist is somebody that thinks different and sees the world in a different way and tries to express that perspective. So when you have this connection to people that appreciate that perspective, it makes it a little bit less lonely.
I think if you really look at like what being an artist has meant traditionally, and then compare it to where we're going, I think that makes it even more stark, right? I think it's Jerry Saltz. He kind of compared being an artist to someone who dances naked, right? Every time
I love that you just channeled Jerry Saltz.
Yeah, he's the best.
That's like
he's awesome.
My favorite thing that has happened during this podcast.
And it has been lonely. And then if you look at how the art world has functioned, it's a lot of times artists kind of have their work and they give it to a gallery or an agent to kind of sell. And oftentimes they don't know if it's sold or they don't know who it's sold to. There's a really interesting article by Jim Thalacidis, shared it on Twitter. And what's changing now is that the artist has this direct connection to the collectors. Like when someone buys their work, they can see exactly who it is. They can check their profiles on Twitter. They can see their collection history. And it bridges this divide that I don't think most people appreciate how large it has been in the traditional art world. And what Andrew's getting to about the collaboration space that's possible now between artist and collector, it's really opening the door to a really fundamentally new way of creating and collecting and supporting creators.
Yeah. I think the three ideas that we've sort of put internally as a company, community, identity, ownership, I think they're all sort of swirling around the same thing that we're trying to incarnate as a product that people use. And valuables is clearly a play in the realm of ownership, whereas something like Scent is much more a play in community, right? When we talk about bringing all of these services together, I think what we're going to get is this beautiful semblance of identity, right? Your existence not only on Twitter, not only on Facebook, not only on Scent, not only on Discord, not only on Reddit, just your entire digital self coming together. The tools of NFTs driving ownership between you and your fans, and then that ownership aspect ultimately creating the sense of community that just does not exist without those other prerequisites. And so it's really early stage. We're just at the frontier here, but I feel like we're about to take human emotion, human connection, human interaction, and ultimately like sustenance, like income, and we're about to take it to the next level on the internet, make it an internet native thing. And to me, that is so exciting because for the longest time, physical barriers have gatekept people, like even in Silicon Valley, right? Like who you know, who you're able to raise from. It's always these locked doors, always these gatekeepers. And so now we're taking something that is as free and open as the internet and giving it these tools, giving people the opportunity to create their life on there. And to me, that is the most beautiful thing.
Well, and I just have to pile on because I think that, like, first of all, doing this podcast thing, whatever, I was hesitant because I was like, well, what do I have to say? And apparently I have a lot to say. But I mean, I think that what's so cool about what the community that surrounds Scent, that Scent has as a part of, that has like the communities that have grown outside of it. This is kind of a call to arms of like, help it, like hear us, and like, if you guys are down, support us, because I think this is not, it's not like one company is going to make a movement or make a change, or like it's greenfield. But at the same time, you know, are we on to something? Are we right? Like, for those of you listening, will you please let us know if we're just navel gazing or if we're on to something?
Honest feedback only.
I think that question is actually a great place marker for this conversation. That's obviously a live one, and we'll keep going. And it's going to be a conversation not just between us, but the users of valuables and Scent. So if y'all are good, I think kind of stopping the conversation here, or pausing it rather, would be good. But I think we should let folks know like where they can follow us, and then where they should go if they want to try out valuables, which I'll give the answer real quick. v.scent.co. Head there. Make sure you have a tweet URL that you want to mint. Check that out there. But for everyone else here, like where can they follow you? Where can they see your thoughts?
So I'm C Hijazi on Twitter. First letter C, and then no one knows my last name, but Hejazi. Just follow me on Twitter. I tweet mostly nonsense, but a penny for my thoughts, hopefully.
Don't follow me on Twitter. I do not have any Twitter presence, and it will be very, very unfulfilling for you to follow me. But you can follow the Scent handle, which is @Scent, and that is where all of the valuables tweets will get retweeted.
This is actually the most embarrassing question or my answer is the most embarrassing. I think I signed up for Twitter in 2006, so I'm like one of the earliest users, but I think I've maybe done 10 tweets.
Wow.
That in that time frame.
I'm gonna buy all 10 of them right now.
but also that's because I worked at Facebook, so I was busy on that social platform. And I'm not a massive Scent user yet. I mean, I use the product, but it's in a different way. I'm trying to.
So basically, send her an email if you want to get in contact.
No, stop it. No, you know where you can follow me is, especially if you like night photography, is Lulu the Frenchie on Instagram. LOULOU the Frenchie.
Okay, maybe you should follow me on Scent then, if you want to see shit that I make. Am I allowed to say shit on this podcast?
Yeah.
If you want it.
Cam already said fuck.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
Way to call me out.
I mean, you guys, I'm the one that says fuck every 5 seconds, so.
It's true.
On Scent, Andrew CM, I believe is my handle. So if I do some writing there, if you want to connect, that's where you can find me.
You can follow me at NiftyTime on Twitter or /Matthew on Scent. Always writing, always sharing thoughts. But team, I think this is an awesome chat. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to it.
Matthew, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like I'm so glad to be a part of it. I was like, oh, I don't have anything to offer. And then I fucking wouldn't shut up.
This was incredible. I'm glad that we really had this discussion. I'm excited to hear it.
Matthew, you said Jerry Saltz. I'm connected to Jerry Saltz. We are fucking sending this podcast to him.
We have to.
Sick.
There you go.
Amazing.
So I'll implore everyone to do what I always ask the guests, but just really excited for us to keep on creating and building cool shit. So thank you all for taking the time to chat on the Spotlight today.
All right.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.
Later, y'all.
Peace.
Hey, everyone. Just want to give a big shout out to our December sponsor, F1 Delta Time. F1 Delta Time is an officially licensed Formula One blockchain-based game that utilizes the Ethereum blockchain to bring you a full Formula One racing experience, coupled with a revolution in gaming in the form of true digital ownership and a play-to-earn model. F1 Delta Time is all about collecting scarce digital items to fill your garage and leveraging these items to go head-to-head in multiplayer racing. Visit f1deltatime.com to join in various events running throughout December. That's F1deltatime.com.
Scent.